still breezy outside, still in the meeting. So this video I want to talk about how I became an entrepreneur. Now, those of you who don't know, if you've been watching my content over the years, you've seen the evolution from making basketball videos in an empty gym to the stuff that we do now. But now I'm an entrepreneur, I'm the owner of my company, Work on Your Game Incorporated. And what we do is we take the mental tools you need to succeed in sports, specifically discipline, confidence, mental toughness, and personal initiative, and we show how those tools can be used in the business world and in everyday life for anybody, whether you're an athlete, entrepreneur, librarian, student, teacher, parent, whatever. So how I became an entrepreneur, the specific situation was back in maybe 2002. I read this book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. I got introduced to this by a bulletin board posting that was on my college campus that said, do you want to make some extra money on the side while you're still in college? Long story short, that was a network marketing opportunity. Now, while I didn't stay in network marketing, I did call the number and I did go meet this dude, and I went to a couple of meetings when I was home in Philly during the summer. And this whole concept of network marketing was revolutionary to me, not because of the network marketing, but because they were teaching principles of entrepreneurship that nobody had ever taught me. Now, mind you, I'm in college. I have a business degree from college, but there were no classes for being an entrepreneur when I was in college. Now, they probably exist now for you if you're in college or if you're going, but when I was in college, there were no classes on here's how you become an entrepreneur. And I have a business degree. I was in the business major. So that's a funny thing, right? So anyway, in this network marketing, in these meetings, there was two things they would talk about. One, they would talk about this whole concept of how some people trade their time for money. Like, you go to work, you work 40 hours, you get paid 40 hours times your hourly rate, or you get a salary for coming to work, and that's how you make your money. The problem is, if you don't go to work, you don't make any money. And I said, you know what, that makes sense. Then they said, well, here's how other people make money. And I had never heard this before in my life. They said some people, they create a network, or they create a system, or they have something that makes money for them to where they don't physically have to be at work, but they can still make money. Nobody had ever taught me that before in my life. I'm like 21 years old. I never heard that before in my life. And I learned that through going to a network marketing. So that was number one. This planted a seed in my head. I said, that's what I want. That's how I want to make my money. Maybe it'll be network marketing. Maybe it'll be something else. But I understood the concept. All right, if I can create something and just sell it over and over again, I can make money in my sleep. I can make money even when I'm not the one working. If I write a book, I don't have to write the book every time somebody wants to read. If I sell 1,000 copies of a book, I don't have to write the book 1,000 times. I write it once, I just sell it 1,000 times, and I don't have to be there to make a sale. I said, I could do that. That's the way I want to make my money. I knew I wanted to play ball first, but I knew that would be the long-term plan, is that concept of entrepreneurship. Didn't know when, where, or how. Now, mind you, it's 2002. So there's no YouTube, there's no social media, there's no self-publishing, none of it, there's no branding, there's no influencers, none of that stuff existed in 2002. But I got the seed planted in my head already. Now, the other thing they talked about in network marketing was this concept of personal development. Again, this is another thing that I was interested in personal development, because I would always, now back in the day before Amazon, those of you who are old enough to remember, we used to go to bookstores to get our books. We would go to like Borders and Walden Books, and what was the other one called? Barnes & Noble. They still exist. And we would look through the books and actually buy the book in the bookstore. Now, there are still plenty of bookstores out there, but not as many as there used to be, because Amazon, sells most of the books. But I would go into bookstores. I would always go to the human psychology section and the self-help section. Nowadays, they call it like self-help, personal development, professional development. They didn't call it that back then, but that's what they call it now. I would always be attracted to that section of the bookstore. That's actually how I found my favorite book, called The 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. So when I went to this network marketing meeting, they would always say, hey, make sure you are plugging into personal development. They would always say that, plug into the personal development, plug into the personal development. And I didn't know what they meant. But then they would say, all right, when you go outside of the meeting, it would be in a hotel. Any of you been in network marketing or been to a meeting, y'all know what it is. It's at a hotel, and there's a table outside, and they're selling stuff. So at the table, they would have all these books. And the guys on stage would say stuff like, make sure you read those books. Read Napoleon Hill and Jim Rohn and Brian Tracy. And they would just name drop these people who I'd never heard of these people before in my life. But when they started talking about it, it just got me interested. But they would say, Zig Ziglar and Tony Robbins.